evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here to race number 5 of the TNR DRP Stadium Super Truck Series. This is Crandon, 1.7 miles in length, a road course, and all the jumps you could hope for. Seth Cole alongside of Lucas Cram, and Lucas, it's the second time that we've been to a dirt-covered street course. Of course, the season opener at Bark River, a bit of a precursor of what we can expect here tonight, but small field here this evening, and a lot of the drivers that we've seen the last couple of weeks up there inside of the top 5, not many of them here in the field here this evening, so big opportunity for guys that are down maybe just outside of the top 3 or 4 to be able to make up some points as the season's starting to draw to a close.
Yeah, for sure. Josh Edmondson, obviously, like you mentioned, has won a lot of races so far this season. He's registered for the session. Be interested to see if he actually is able to join in before the feature at least starts, but line up here for the first heat race. The cool thing about this racetrack is that we line them up all the way wide across the start-finish line, even if it's 6 wide.
There you see them all 5 wide down this straight, heading for the first corner, which is going to be a right-hander through the grass. I mean, I can only imagine these things are slipping and sliding on the dirt, but there's got to be even even more limited amount of grip underneath these tires when you're running on the grass.
Yeah, for sure. And now currently a battle for the race lead. Oh, Vincent going to spin out there into the wall and unfortunately lose all the positions he just had.
Valvano drops from the race lead all the way back to 5th. Recovers the truck as James Donahue, who was the fastest in practice and the fastest in qualifying, going to lead the battle for 2nd between Bill Edwards and Tony Lucarelli. 10 turns in total for these drivers, and in the heat races here this evening, 5 laps will be run.
Yeah, and it's definitely a lot of work at a track like this. So contact there, it looks like Bill Edwards got a little too sideways there and over-rotated at Floppy Tellier, just barely got into the side of him there, and luckily they both keep going. Obviously these trucks are really tough and are meant to take a lot of hits like that, so they'll keep on digging here and hopefully try to get some lost ground.
If anything, I think that Mike Tellier might have actually helped that 50 of Bill Edwards get pointed in the right direction. Otherwise, I think we might have seen Bill Edwards spun around a couple of corners back from where we're currently at. Those two making contact, though, has Vincent Valvano just in camera shot, so we could have a battle between those two, or those 3 rather, for the 3rd position. Meanwhile, Tony Lucarelli still keeping pretty good touch with James Donahue. If that 81 makes a mistake, you can bet the 41 will be there to pounce.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously it is very easy to make a mistake around a track like this with all of these jumps and blind corners. Crandon is one of the most historic off-road tracks, and for a good reason. It's really challenging and really fun to race at the same time. So, obviously, 5-lap heat races here. It's gonna be a lot of work, like I was mentioning earlier, for these guys to kind of just keep themselves in check with making sure they nail every corner and don't spin yourself out.
Interesting, you brought up the topic of our points leader, Josh Edmondson, winner of 3 of the first 4 races on the season, including last week at the Charlotte Roval. And if we do not see him, he is registered for the event, but if we do not see him take the green flag in any of the events here tonight, either the heats, the B main, or the A main, the guy to keep an eye on would end up being that 98 of Tristan Maher, because he comes into this race 2nd in the point standings, 29 points back. If he's able to pick up a couple of victories in the respective events he takes part in, we could have ourselves a pretty good points battle when these guys jump over Lake Michigan into next week's race at Detroit Belle Isle.
For sure, and yeah, what a complete contrast that is, all the way from Crandon here on the off-road track to a street circuit there in Detroit. It's definitely going to be a really interesting change of pace for all these guys to kind of jump into next week, and I'm sure it'll produce some incredible racing.
Going for 3rd place, looks like it might be the closest one. Mike Tellier, I think, ran into an issue a couple of corners ago, losing 4th place to Vincent Valvano. Valvano now trying to catch up to Bill Edwards, but there's about 2 seconds separating those guys. And take an onboard look inside the cockpit of our race leader, James Donahue. And it was a big talking point back at Bark River as well with the jumps that are here. People wouldn't necessarily think it, but when you are getting ready to take that jump, you're basically preparing yourself, even at that point, for the landing, especially if it's a directional landing that you've got to make.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people think you can't really control your car, when you're in the air, but surprisingly, you actually can do a lot. If you hit the gas, it's going to bring the front end back up in the air and kind of land the back end down earlier, and with these things being rear engine, though, it's going to kind of mess it all up if you land too hard on it. And the thing I learned the quickest running these when they came out last year on the service was that it's very easy to damage your engine and kind of get engine damage to where maybe you won't necessarily blow it up if you don't do it too aggressively, but at least hurt your power, and you can actually lose a ton of speed, especially at a track like this where you have such long straightaways and such a fast-paced track. It can really hurt you. So definitely the best guys in these things, they know exactly how to land over those jumps and use the brakes and the gas to try to help their truck get pointed in the right position to land.
At one particular corner there with the trees at the point, that's turn 4, and one thing I'm noticing here as well with the onboard on the 81 is, I guess we'll call it the curbing, the transition from the dirt to the grass, and that's a pretty high elevation change. We're noticing Donahue a couple of times actually hitting that curbing to maybe set himself up for an upcoming corner, but he set one tire wrong. I have a feeling that high of a banking could easily flip the truck over, so I don't know just exactly how close you want to get to the edging here.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely risk versus reward, and that's the crazy thing about a series or a track like this is the amount of commitment you basically have to the point of where, as you see, he's going to use it right here, I believe. Kind of just get right up against it and keep his truck pointing in the right direction. It's literally everything. Just trying to make sure you keep your commitment level and hit your marks, even though it's very easy to just barely go over that edge and kind of cost you everything. So it's definitely a lot of risk. I think that's why it's a lot of fun for these guys.
About 1.5 laps left here in this heat race. Donahue continues to lead. Lucarelli in second. Battle for third is closed up. Bill Edwards looks back, and only maybe 4 truck lengths off his back bumper is Vincent Valvano. Nice recovery there for Vincent, who had that issue back on the first lap, first couple of corners, dropping back to 5th place, and might pick up 2 spots here in 5 laps.
Yeah, for sure, and obviously trying to chase down Bill Edwards here. But 2 laps to go. It's like I mentioned, the start is about a 1.5-mile course, so it's a long ways around here for an off-road dirt track, and he definitely trying to get back there. But at the very least, even if he doesn't, the field invert here before the feature, at least will be in a little bit better starting position for that, which I actually guess doesn't matter because they start like 10 wide. But I take back my previous point.
Yeah, there's a couple of drivers there battling for 3rd place that are running really well in the point standings. Bill Edwards coming into this race 3rd in points, 40 points out of the points lead. Vincent Malvano 6th in the standings, 56 points out of the top position. And as mentioned, a lot of big names not in the field here tonight, including Connor Parise and David Bodeo, some drivers that we're used to seeing up inside the top 5 week after week. And of course, the big question mark of whether we'll see points leader Josh Edmondson take a green flag here tonight, as about half a lap left to go for James Donahue, who up to this point has not put a tire wrong. And I don't know, too early to say, but maybe the guy we're looking at is the possible favorite to win this thing just based off the speed he's been able to show in practice qualifying and now in his heat race.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he definitely was out there turning laps all practice long, just, absolutely nailing his marks and getting a really good rhythm for as you see him come across the line here fairly shortly, and going to wrap up the win here for him. And definitely execution, all the way. He's been quick, like I mentioned, literally all the way through this entire session and kind of putting the hurt on the field. So it'll be interesting to see if with these starts how crazy they are if he gets hurt and can rebound from it. But at the moment, he's just out there trolling everything.
And he's going to come around, and he is going to cross the start-finish line to pick up the victory. Will James Donahue. Lucarelli in second. Battle for third coming back to the start-finish line. It will be Bill Edwards holding on by maybe 3 truck lengths over Vincent Valvano, and Mike Tellier is going to finish in the 5th position. Now, the reason why I say maybe a little too early to give the W to the 81 of James Donahue, there is another guy who's going to be in the upcoming second heat who was making a couple challenges for top of the board as well that we might have to keep an eye on here in the second heat, and eventually when these two face off in the A main and the upcoming B main. And he is going to be rolling off, it looks like, from the 3rd position here on this heat. Right now, I thought we were going to have 9 drivers scheduled for this evening's event, but we've only got 3 drivers lined up, it looks like, for this upcoming second heat. Stephen Cagerman, Tristan Mayer, our second in the point standings driver, and then the guy I think we might have to keep an eye on, John Catanzaro in that 058. I don't know how he was able to make it from Georgia to Wisconsin so quickly, as we saw him earlier on tonight in the TNR Master Millwright Big Block Series when they ran at Lanier.
Yeah, must have a pretty fast jet and a good pilot for sure to make that trip. But yeah, definitely a big turn of events for him. Obviously, coming from Big Block Modifieds, he literally just raced for a good while at Lanier, and then going on, jumping through the air here at Crandon. So definitely a huge difference for him. But like you mentioned, he was only a few tenths off of James Donahue's fastest laps there. So definitely going to put the pressure on him in the feature race when they start side by side, across the start finish line. And currently here, got a little contact there from the start, but it looks like he's going to be in second, trying to chase down the race leader here of Stephen Cagerman.
As you saw, officially 3 drivers taking the green flag here for this second heat. Stephen Cagerman coming into this race 4th in the overall standings, 48 points out, so certainly could do a little bit of work in eating into Edmondson's points lead, as I think both the drivers there, Cagerman and Catanzaro, looked like they had their hands full on that right-hander. Catanzaro is making only his 2nd start in the season. We saw him last week at the Charlotte Roval, where he only completed 1 lap in the main event. So if he completes a lap in the main event here at Crandon, he will have tied the number of laps that he's turned so far this season.
Yeah, and he just hit that berm, that curb, if you will, that you were talking about earlier in the last heat. He went in there a little bit too sideways and clipped it. And unfortunately for him, like went on just a little bit too sideways, as he's gonna belt lose it right at air again, trying to hold on a second. But John Catanzaro, definitely took advantage of that. Now he's in the race lead at the moment.
Turn 4 seems to really be the trouble spot for these guys, and maybe because it's kind of like an acute angle. And these drivers, these trucks, they're set up for the long, wide, sweeping corners. So you're asking that that truck to have a very small turning radius, which they really do not have.
Yeah, for sure, and especially these things, being rear-wheel drive only, it's very easy to kind of get in there a little bit too sideways, and then you try to get the gas, heat momentum up, because you feel like you may have messed the entry up, but then the next thing you know, you're going around just like you would be with any other rear-wheel drive car. So definitely very challenging trucks here, especially compared to the Per 4s, and they're absolutely digging out there. As you see, second place there changed. Tristan Mayer just feel like it's clear of him, as it looks like Steven just kind of struggling there to keep the power and meet them.
Cagerman having a bit of an issue here in the early going of this second and final heat race. Tristan Maher coming into this event, 2nd in the point stands as we documented, 29 points out. His finishes have been good this year. Bark River, another dirt rally course. He finished 4th there, 3rd at Mosport, 5th at Bristol, and 4th at the Charlotte Roval, so he's been consistently inside the top 5. The problem for him is the guy he's been trying to chase down for the points lead has been finding victory lane more often than not. So opportunity here tonight if Edmondson does not take the green flag for Tristan Maher to make some pretty big gains for that points lead.
Yeah, for sure. He'll definitely be chomping the bit here tonight in the feature if Josh does not show up, which at the moment he still is not connected to the session before we get into our feature right after this heat. So unfortunately for him, looks like he probably won't be competing in tonight's event unless something changes here last second. But yeah, like you mentioned, definitely going to be chopping the bit there, and he's going to try to make up some of those points, and probably a little more aggressive than he usually would be, just to try to make up some more spots and make sure he capitalizes on that.
So everybody in their respective heats are going to get points here tonight. The top 6 get points in the heat races, and it looks like, at least for the time being, with the number of drivers that took the green for the respective heats here, everybody will get points in the B main, and everybody will get points in the A main. A maximum of 8 get points in the B main, a maximum of 10 get points in the A main. So maybe even more so important for someone like Tristan Maher to take a checkered flag not only in the B main but also in that A main. We've already seen drivers start up at the front, like in the case of the 22 here in the second heat, and fall towards the back, and we've seen drivers be able to pick their way through the field, like Vincent Balbano, moving from 5th place almost up to 3rd place after an early issue. So in the case of, let's say, Catanzaro, Tristan Maher, Donahue, the guys that we're looking at as the possibilities to take this checkered flag, we mentioned about the inverted field, especially from the B main to the A main. I don't know if that's going to be that much of an issue for those guys in terms of having to make their way through traffic.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, I totally forgot about this earlier. They literally start all the cars here as wide as they can be. So it's definitely, everybody's basically got an equal shot on the start, which is really unique to this racetrack, obviously. And it's really kind of cool to have that sort of thing. And I'm sure these guys probably have it all figured out to where, compared to left to right, where they like to start on the start to set themselves up for the first right-hander, and kind of get through that smoothly without too much issue. But definitely should, kind of spice things up. Maybe some guys are uncomfortable in certain positions, maybe starting all the way on the inside or all on the outside. So definitely interesting to see how that plays out for sure.
Drivers, they have been on all mannerisms of tracks. Of course, a couple of weeks ago, we were at the Bristol dirt track, a short track. Last week, we were at the asphalt-covered Charlotte Roval. We're here tonight at Crandon, a dirt-covered rally course. And then next week, we go right back to the asphalt road course at Detroit Belle Isle. I mean, we got these nice, wide, sweeping corners here at Crandon. That's not what they're going to be dealing with at Belle Isle next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Quite the opposite. Obviously that street course is very narrow and very challenging, and real life stadium super trucks put on awesome shows on street courses for sure. So I'm definitely excited to see how that plays out for these guys there next week, and definitely, like I said earlier, huge difference coming all the way from Crandon and an actual off-road track. It's at this fast pace and everything to a tight street course next week, but definitely should put on a good show.
Obviously, as you mentioned, we're going to see all the drivers take the green flag at the same time. The standings start 9 wide for these guys. Well, 8 or 9 wide, depending on how many actually do take the green. And one thing that we don't really think about a whole lot here with these Stadium Super Trucks is visibility. I mean, how difficult is it going to be for these guys to figure out if they're clear on another driver when they all start merging together to head for turn 1?
For sure, and especially like you mentioned earlier, that grass is pretty slippery. We've already seen these guys in these 2 heats kind of make some minor contact at the moment, but as soon as you get the entire field out there, it's going to be a lot more wild and crazy trying to hold on to the trucks. And interesting development as well here, as I mentioned earlier, Josh Edmondson was registered and didn't look like he was going to make the feature, but he just connected and is now in the session to start this feature. So your championship battle just got a lot more spicy.
Those observant would have seen his name pop up there on the top right in the 4th position. He's 4 laps down. He will get points here for this heat, despite finishing multiple laps behind the race leader, John Canonzaro. And if you're Tristan Maher, if you're Donahue, if you're Canonzaro, that's not what you want to see, because this guy has been absolutely on fire since the season started. 3 trips to victory lane in the first 4 races. The only place that he hasn't gone to victory lane was where his teammate Connor Parise won, and that was at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Yeah, for sure. And even though he hasn't had any practice here, but all of these guys are qualifying, he's going to try to just, obviously start with everybody else as they start 10 wide here and just basically, send it and hope that, he at least has prior experience here, a lot of laps turned, and it gets kind of immediately carried into the race. And got a couple laps there. Then the heat, it looks like the battle for second will go to Tristan Maher, just barely holding off Stephen Cagerman there.
Cagerman 3rd, and 4th place will, of course, be 058 of Josh Edmondson. And yeah, you bring up that interesting point there as these drivers now get themselves lined up. Really doesn't matter who's starting where, because they're all going to be lined up side by side here. 9 drivers going to be taking this green flag. But to the point you made there of Canonzaro getting maybe about a lap and a half of practice in, you got to wonder if that's going to be an equalizer for some of these guys. Of course, though, the driver of that 58 actually does this in real life. So, may not actually need that practice because, life experience is maybe the best practice that he has.
For sure, and Albert gets a good start there. About 10 wides to come across the grass here, and such a wild, crazy, unique start here. It looks like there's still 5 wide for the race lead. Some contact all over the place. It looks like one driver goes to the dirt, gets a good run, and gets away with the 5th.
Was smart, Mike Tellier. Yeah, why not put a wall between yourself and the rest of the competition? But he is going to come out around the 7th position as a result. But yeah, that was a bit of a sneaky move there at the start. I like it. Tristan Maher, though, going to take the race lead. Luke Gorelli moves into 2nd. 3rd place for Bill Edwards, and here comes Josh Edmondson around the outside, going into this left-hander of James Donahue. We're 3 wide, a couple of spots there. Everybody gets it settled out as they now head down towards the tight turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, James Donahue's kind of set the pace this entire session so far, and he's fallen back to 5th here, kind of gotten boxed in behind these guys. It'll be interesting to see if he's able to put that experience and so far domination, if you will, to good use. Josh Edmondson's already driving away. Battle for the race lead, though, between the top 2. Tristan Maher going to get past him for Tony Lucarelli. And now Josh Edmondson goes right by both of them, looks for the race lead as well.
Edwards there also as a little contact further back. That was Steve Cagerman almost getting spun out by Vincent Valvano. Lucarelli side by side here with Edmondson through the left-hander. Let's see if the pass can be completed, and indeed it will. Edmondson to the point. Lucarelli under fire from Tristan Maher. That battle is over. He'll slot back to third, will the 41. Bill Edwards and John Cannonzaro right there as well inside the top 5.
Yeah, Josh Edmondson did not look like he was going to be denied there whatsoever. He's beating doors with everybody, making sure that he somehow kept the straight all the way through that. Really, I'm not entirely sure how. And now Tristan Mayer is trying to put the pressure on him, doing a good job of staying with him so far. He's going to try to get him here in this left-hander probably.
Kind of deja vu for Tristan Mayer. He's been chasing Edmondson quite a bit this season. 3 wide behind and contact. That's going to be Lucarelli off the nose of Bill Edwards, and in the middle of that 3 wide situation was Cannonzaro as well. Lucarelli going to be the biggest loser in that exchange as he goes from unofficially third all the way back to dead last in ninth.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate. Just got turned around there, kind of complete. Everybody kind of got together and didn't really have anywhere to go, and looks like he got the worst end of that deal, obviously. And now feel a little bit strung out through each position. Definitely not strung out by any means too far, but definitely. A little bit of separation between these guys, and looks like Stephen Cageman, definitely was digging that last heat and trying to figure out how to use that throttle pedal to his advantage and keep the momentum up, and he's been kind of learning a little bit better. He looks like he's got a little bit better pace, I would say, compared to that last heat race. Looks like he's going to get past here Vincent Valvano, still trying to make up some spots from a little bit of a bad start there, but definitely some good competition in the back.
Valvano trying to cut the corner a little bit sharper, was not able to get the spot from Cageman. Mike Teller up ahead of them took that corner really, really wide. That might bring the 22 and 38 into his vicinity shortly. Lucarelli trying to mount to come back. He's caught up to this group as well, trying to pick up a spot on Vincent Valvano. That would be for 8th place. Is up at the front. Josh Edmondson has set sail. He's got almost 2 seconds now back to Tristan Maher. Another 2 seconds back to Bill Edwards, who's under fire from John Cannonzaro and James Donahue.
Yeah, good battle up here for the 3rd position with all those guys. Some contact there. They managed to keep it straight, just barely kept it out the inside of the training wall right there. But very difficult to pass through, obviously, with the jumps and everything factored in. You kind of turn into a corner, not even meaning to catch somebody, but you're going through the air and you can't do anything about it. The next thing you make heavy contact, and it's really easy, obviously, to take each other out. So definitely some smart racing here to keep these guys pulling in the right direction. There's still a long ways to go.
Have to chuckle, obviously it's a road course, so a lot of aspects of road course racing come into play here. I kind of think to 2 of the most well-known road courses like Sonoma and Watkins Glen, you've got those S's sections. Well, in those sections, you basically set up how you're going to get through them with the very first corner, your entry. Here, when you're in traffic and you're trying to set up a pass, you're getting yourself prepared for a corner, but as you mentioned, your tires are off the ground. So once you have left terra firma, basically it's anybody's guess of where you're going to land.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, that's kind of my favorite types of racetracks and rallycross. It's really fun to kind of set yourself up and think ahead as to where your truck or car is going to land before you even get to that next corner, because you can't change it. Like you mentioned, after that initial turn-in, is to go 3 wide here for 3rd, some minor contact once again, and they managed to keep it straight, but continue to just send it over each of these jumps and are racing really hard for this position.
That 3 wide was the same place we saw 3 wide a couple of laps ago, and that didn't work out quite so well for Tony Lucarelli. Fortunately, Edwards, Cannonzaro, and Donahue were able to all keep them pointed in the right direction, and this battle for 3rd place continues on. Be for 4th here, as Donahue made that corner a little bit better than the other 2, and he is alongside, briefly, Cannonzaro for 4th place.
Yeah, he's kind of struggling around these guys. That's what I mentioned earlier. He had the pace. He proved it all during the practice session, and it looks like he just sent John there, maybe through the corner. I'm not sure if it was contact or not, but John got really wide there. It actually gets a huge run up off the corner. Looks like he'll defend that 4th position for now.
Gotta wonder too with some of these corners, I mean, how distracting is it to have somebody on your back bumper, not knowing necessarily where their lift point is, where their ideal line is. Maybe in the case there of Cannonzaro, if there wasn't contact, it might have been a case of missing his lifting point going into the turn, taking that corner a little too fast, afraid that maybe Donahue was going to run into the back of him.
Yeah, Bill Edwards, like we mentioned earlier, he took that jump just there and knocked the fence down on the exit of that corner, wasn't able to turn back off of it as it was in the air, and just gave up both of those positions. He'll get shuffled back to the 5th position, as now they're looking 3 wide here, once again off turn 3. It looks like now James Donahue finally gets around both of them for the moment, as it looks like John Caranzaro still trying to fight him back for that position.
Donahue going to move into the 3rd spot. Now that he's cleared these two, we'll see if he can start trying to reel in Tristan Maher. There's about 2 seconds separating them for the battle for the 2nd spot. Oh, I think we had an issue back here. Stephen Cagerman and Tony Lucarelli were very slow in that section of the course. They've both since gotten going again, but lost quite a bit of touch with the rest of the field.
Looks like they're in about a 3-truck battle there, and Steven just sent it in a little bit too hard and could not quite turn off with Tony Lucarelli. And Tony actually about went up and over, but they all kind of turned around and lost a lot of time there, like you mentioned. But still currently, battling here for this 3rd position. It looks like James Donahue is just barely maintaining over John, but John's definitely putting the pressure on him and trying to keep up with him.
Is the battle for the final spot inside of the podium. Again, as mentioned, all of these drivers will have points paid out to them at the conclusion of this one, I do believe. Let me double check on that. And no, correction, actually only 8 of them will have points paid out. So right now, Stephen Cagerman, who came into this race as mentioned in the 4th position in points, that is not a situation he wants to be in, especially with the fact that you consider, it seems like a short season, because theoretically it is. There's only 3 more races, I believe, after tonight before we end up crowning a champion.
Yeah, for sure. And he's definitely had an unfortunate luck during this entire event so far. And like we mentioned, just him getting turned around once again there and not able to capitalize on these points. But he's still got the feature right up after this. So these guys all have a good chance of trying to make up some lost ground in this in the heats and the consolation, and just trying to maintain to salvage something for sure. And even learn some things here in the last closing laps of this constellation to kind of bring into the next race. It looks like Tristan Mayer about spun out right there in that corner, and looks like James Donahue now sees blood and he's going to try to get him here.
Is indeed. He's got a big run there down this, I guess we'll call it a straightaway. It's not very straight, as he will look to driver's right. Caranzaro right there in the vicinity as well, if these two put a wheel wrong, and this is taking place nearly 8 seconds behind the race leader. We kind of talked about it here tonight. There was the possibility that Edmondson might not be in the field this evening. If he was going to be in the field, we were talking about the possible great battling for 2nd place, and that's all just played out right now because Edmondson's gone. Now it's basically 3 drivers to figure out who's going to get the runner-up spot, and a little contact exchange there, a little bit of rubbing for 2nd spot between Maher and Donahue.
Yeah, it might not be 3 cars only for long, because they're racing really hard right here with only 2 laps to go this time by before this consolation ends. So Tristan Mayer is really getting that back end a little too sideways in each of these corners, and definitely now that he's got the pressure on behind him with James Donahue, it looks like James Donahue almost spins it, barely catches it. What a save!
Opened the door for John Caranzaro to take a look. He then gets crossed over by Donahue, so the battle now is for 3rd, taking a little bit of pressure off of Tristan Maher with about 1 1/4 laps remaining. They'll head through the sharp turn 9. We've seen a couple of drivers actually swinging a little bit wider now, not taking that sharper angle through that corner, which, in all honesty, might be the safer route, because we've seen a number of guys nearly spin the thing out trying to cut that corner as short as possible.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely seems like that and turn 3 are 2 of the kind of sketchy corners for sure around this entire racetrack. And the nice thing with that straightaway too is that you have such a long straightaway coming up out of that corner. If you can find a different kind of groove and avoid getting sideways, you can get the power down pretty easily. It'll help carry your momentum all the way down that straightaway. As now you see Christian Mayer running the even wider line right there in that corner. And now James Donahue looking to the inside of him, going over the jump, and is going to try to give him this right-hander.
Saw the 58 of Josh Edmondson cross underneath the start-finish line banner. 1 lap left to go here in the B main, and he could take these corners rather easy if he wanted to, I think, and still win this thing. 9.5 seconds back to this raging battle for 2nd place. Edmondson coming into tonight's event, total of 29 points over his next competitor, 3 trips to victory lane, and I think I've lost count the number of heat victories and B mains that he has won, and looking to add another one to that list in just the short amount of races that we've run.
Yeah, for sure. It looks like now Tristan Mayer is still doing a good job defending. It is now uh, John Caranzaro got a huge run right there. James Donahue looked to the inside and could not quite keep the momentum up. But these guys very even for this entire last few laps of this constellation. Ever since Tristan Mayer made that mistake, and they all kind of caught him. And he's done an awesome job with the pressure of both these guys right behind him. The two fastest guys in the session, all the way up until Josh, joined during the middle of this the heat race. Excuse me. But these guys definitely going to try to send it here in the last few corners, get that extra few positions and a few points.
Edmondson has crossed the line. He is your winner, 10.5 seconds over this battle for second place. We're going to follow this back to the start-finish line, though. Tristan Maher, of course, as mentioned, is trying to battle for the championship. Donahue and Catanzaro coming in tonight. Only 3 total starts between the two of them, so you know that they're not going to leave anything on the table. And, man, that was close coming back to the line, but it's Donahue that's going to get it by, we'll call it about half a truck length.
Yeah, that for sure. That was an awesome battle all the way through this last 5 laps there, I believe. And Donahue got a good run right there. John kind of looked like he was going to fake a move to Tristan Mayer, and then Donahue looked like he was going to try to set him up for a crossover, and John kind of defended, and Donahue just said, okay, I'll just go to the outside and pinch him down, and got a huge run right there, and was able to hold on that last podium position.
Zara will be 4th, Edwards 5th, Mike Tellier, Tony Lucarelli, Steve Cagerman, and Vincent Valvano are going to be your top 9 finishers here for the B main, which means Valvano is going to be the pole sitter for the upcoming A main. And I think Valvano actually ran into a little bit of an issue there on the final lap, dropped a couple of spots late to finish 9th place here in the B main event. But here we go. We're going to stack them back up one more time, and that one was a total of 8 laps. Now we're going to get them ready for 15 laps. And just kind of going back to a couple of the things we saw in the early stages of both the heat races and the B main is drivers and their ability to be able to kind of mount some comebacks, pick up some spots that they lost after spinning out. Case in point, the Vincent Valvano machine back in the first heat, and then the 41 of Tony Lucarelli back in the B main. With 15 laps in the A main, make the mistake early, obviously a lot more time to be able to pick up some spots that you might have lost.
Yeah, without a doubt, and especially at the start of the feature race, these guys go 10 wide into turn 1. There's definitely a lot of contact that gets made, and even if you can kind of shuffle out, it can sometimes be a help because at least you have less chance of getting entirely wrecked out of the session. But these guys, if they continue to battle and kind of hold each other up, you can definitely catch them a lot easier, obviously, and kind of just use that clean track to your advantage. And James Donahue was able to kind of pick off some of those positions there towards the end of that race. And we definitely have seen that without major contact, it's really tough to kind of make a pass with how fast-paced this track is and how easy it is to make like heavy contact where you don't want to wreck the guy. It's definitely going to be interesting to see if anybody of our top dogs especially have any issues towards the start of the feature, if they can make that back up in a fair amount of time.
Drivers are out there currently for a warm-up session. They've got about a little more than 3 minutes left. Let's talk about something we haven't had to talk about so far, because the heat races were 5 laps in length, the B main was 8 laps in length, 15 laps for the A main, and we were told fuel could be a concern for these drivers, especially if they go hard from start to finish. That could be throwing a little bit of a spanner into the works for these guys in the closing stages.
Yeah, without a doubt. Obviously, these guys are sending over the jumps and so focused on the trucks in front of them that the fuel could definitely bite them, late in this race. So that's going to be interesting to see how that works. I'm not really entirely sure how exactly you would save fuel at a track like this in an off-road truck. Definitely probably going to try to stay out of the gas as much as possible when you're going over the jumps and letting it bounce off the chip. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys kind of manage that, and especially manage their aggression when they're racing guys and whether or not they can even afford to do so. So that's a very interesting thing to look after, and it should be fun to watch.
People that will remember back in the season opener at Bark River, we saw a couple of drivers have to hit pit lane in that one. There were, however, a couple of drivers that had the wherewithal of knowing what the situation was fuel-wise and actually were able to make it the 15 laps on what they had in the tank. So we'll see who the gamblers are going to be and the drivers that might play it safe and come down pit road for the gas and go. And it will be just gas and go for these guys. There's absolutely no need for them to take on tires, and it actually is more extended stay than you would expect for them to be able to change the tires as well. So if you come down pit road, just fill that thing with however much you need to get to the finish and back down and away. Got about a minute and 30 seconds here before we end up turning them loose for this final one. Now, we saw that the races were crazy. We saw even a driver go down I think that was like the pit lane exit for Mike Tellier there at the start of the B main. How crazy do we see it here for the A main restart of this event? Because in all honesty, it's probably the closest these drivers will be to each other the entirety of the main event.
Yeah, without a doubt. You know, as soon as you can see clear track in front of you, you know, the aggression obviously gets turned up a lot higher, and every single driver in the field is going to see clean track in front of them for the initial start. So it'll be really exciting to see, you know, how that all plays out. Them guys definitely going for it here in the A main, and I'm curious to see how league officials rule that very intriguing pit exit kind of line there that he ran in the Constellation. I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything from them about whether or not they'll be allowed or changed per se, but I'm not also entirely sure if it works because it definitely worked for the initial launch using the dirt instead of the grass, but then you kind of funnel out around a wall and it's kind of tough to keep momentum up. So definitely made it a lot more exciting, but I'm not entirely sure if we'll see it again here with these guys racing for the feature.
Whether or not it's legal, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it probably is, because the guy that utilized it, Mike Tellier, is the lead admin of the series. And so I'm assuming that if the lead admin uses it, that it's open season for anybody else that wants to be able to try. But we did see that it didn't exactly work out for him, so it might have actually been a case of self-preservation, him actually wanting to stay out of contact early on and maybe just keep that truck in one piece, find himself a safe spot when they headed into turn one.
Yeah, that is quite true. Definitely a good separation for the rest of the craziness in the field of having a nice pit wall there to help you out.
So it's going to be fun to watch some of our fast trucks make their way through the field. Edmondson, Maher, Donahue, all scheduled to roll off 7th through 9th. But again, with the standing start, all of them side by side, 9 abreast here. This is going to be a very interesting start to this 15-lap A main. Vincent Valvano scheduled as the pole sitter. He is the blue truck to the left of your screen. Edmondson rolling off 9th is all the way to the far right. We'll see what's going to happen here. We're waiting on that flagman. Green flag is out. Up through the gears they go. Let's see what happens going into turn 1. We've already got a couple of trucks beating off of each other there. Cagerman and Valvano, as looks like it's going to be the 058 of Canonzaro leading them into turn 1. 4 wide for second.
Yeah, some heavy contact back there. Looks like Tony Lucarelli kind of got shuffled around there, but currently Josh Edmondson and James Donahue, the two guys who kind of dominated this entire session. Their third guy up there, John Canizaro, took that race lead, took advantage of that start, obviously. Now, 3 guys behind him looking 3 wide potentially for second here in this left-hander.
Now it's going to be Edmondson looking to driver's left on Canonzaro. Canonzaro has the preferred line, the wider angle off that corner, so Edmondson has to tuck back in line. He's got his rear deck lid full of Tristan Maher. Throw a blanket over the top 5. Donahue and Stephen Cagerman right there as well. We've seen Cagerman struggle in his heat race and in the B main. Wonder if he was able to learn enough to be competitive here. Oh! Canonzaro making some contact there with the left front tire. Almost flipped that truck over, and Edmondson's there to pounce.
Yeah, definitely getting pressure hard by Josh Edmondson. Looks now up the left side, the driver's left, up into this left-hander to try to set himself up for this hairpin and try to get a good entry. And remember the Constellation last time, he kind of threw his slide job if you go into this corner. I'm interested to see if he tries it again here. Looks like he will be able to pull a crossover.
He's going to get at least to the left rear quarter panel. Now pulls up alongside. Problem is we're heading into a right-hander up here. Canonzaro edges ahead for a brief moment, tries to pin the 58 down against that blue wall. They'll be dead even over the jumps, heading back for the start-finish line. Looks like Canonzaro, I thought he might actually try and slide in front of the 58, but not quite. Still side by side between those two.
Yeah, definitely not giving up easy there to Josh Edmondson. Definitely making him work for it for sure. And now Josh Edmondson goes way out wide and tries to get a huge run off of this corner here. Looks like John's going to be clear for now. Here was Josh. Going to barely shove his nose up the inside and almost got in the wall right there over the jump.
trying to do the best he can to block the 58 as Catanzaro. Now he swings wide, looks to cross over yet again, who might have not been able to get back to the throttle as soon as he would have liked, as Edmondson kind of pinched him against the wall. Edmondson now clear for the top position. Catanzaro back to second. That three-way battle for third is finally settled out. Tristan Maher's going to be in control of it. Donahue going to challenge him now. And Tony Lucarelli made his way up into the top 5 moments ago, getting by Steve Cagerman.
Yeah, throw a blanket under the top 7 trucks here. There's no gaps absolutely all the way through the top few positions in this field. As Josh Edmondson goes really wide right there on the hairpin. And actually, that was it may have been intended. Oh, contact.
Was Tristan Maher may have over-rotated a little bit there through turn 9. Some contact between himself and James Donahue. Donahue's going to slip by for third place. Lucarelli was kind of boxed in behind the 98, so Maher's going to hold on to fourth for the time being. Lucarelli right there with him. Stephen Cagerman also in the vicinity, as it's going to be those 2 red trucks battling it out for P4.
Yeah, definitely could have been a lot worse right there for Tristan Maher. Only really lost 1 or 2 positions in that whole ordeal, and luckily was able to get it straightened back out and get back going without losing too much time to the rest of these guys. But now Tony Lucarelli looks to the inside, looks like he'll clear him for that 4th position. So now he's going to try to hold off Stephen Cagerman and see if he can just continue to try to stay within the top 5 and, you know, kind of get his mind back into a good rhythm here and just get himself set up as, contact Tony Lucarelli. They all managed to save it somehow.
Oh, we saw Maher spin out in front of Lucarelli. The favor's been returned, with Lucarelli spinning in front of Tristan Maher. They all keep it together, all keep it pointed in the right direction, but that's brought some company to the back door. Cagerman's there, and now Vincent Valvano has entered into the vicinity. That's a 4-way battle for the 4th position.
Yeah, for sure. And Stephen Cagerman just definitely, you know, continuing to hit his marks here, and definitely seems like he's kind of getting that throttle control a little bit more under control, and not, no pun intended, and definitely trying to keep it straight here. It looks like he about got contact right there with Vincent Valvano, but all 4 of these trucks in a really close battle for this 4th position, and Tony Lucarelli now has some nose damage. I don't think it would affect him too bad, but definitely some of these trucks a little bit tore up, and maybe some toe-out damage from those doors against each other.
The ability to be able to start this race all side by side really played a huge advantage to drivers who under normal circumstances would be starting way back in traffic. Edmondson, the race leader, up 8 positions from 9th. 4 spots gained for Catanzaro and Donahue, who were scheduled to roll off 6th and 7th respectively. So no doubt about it, the standing start that they have here at Crandon, almost eliminating out the inverting of the field for these guys from the transition of the B main to the A main.
Stephen Cagerman just slid it up there and hit the opening in the wall in that right-hand hairpin, and unfortunately for him, he's going to go all the way back to dead last, it looks like here, and give up all the positions I was just mentioning he was holding on to, and that's really unfortunate here on lap 4. Still a long ways to go here. Definitely can make up some ground if he can be aggressive with it. It looks like there's some contact up there ahead and some smoke.
That's
sure.
Catanzaro, second place at the time. I don't know what happened to him, but when we came back, he was off-roading there, kind of jumping over a hill, landing it back down around the turn 5 vicinity. And that truck, as you pointed out, it is smoking. It is down on power.
Yeah, really unfortunate
what happened
right
to
there.
him. I mean, what did he hit?
It looks like him and James Donahue were in that battle for 2nd position there. They barely made some contact, but unfortunately for John Catanzaro, it was just the perfect time to where he was going over that jump. He couldn't get the truck pointed back in the right direction and nailed that wall like you just saw. And man, that's really unfortunate. Blew the engine right out of that thing.
That is a tough hit. That was right around where our camera wheel well is. Let's see if we can get another camera shot and see just exactly the wall that he made the impact with. And that is effectively his day over for sure. Even if he is able to get that thing back out there, he's going to probably be a few laps down. And this being a road course, it's pretty unlikely we're going to see ourselves a full course yellow. And so tough break there for John Catanzaro, who, as mentioned, had some hard luck coming into tonight as he only completed 1 lap in the A main event 1 week ago at the Charlotte Roval.
Yeah, it's just really unfortunate luck there. You know, really doing an awesome job executing from that tire race, even giving Josh Edmondson some run for his money, and just very minor contact. That's really unfortunate there in that tough battle. And like you mentioned, definitely can make up some lost ground if you kind of have a spin or something like that. But having to travel down pit road at a really slow speed is just really unfortunate. So he did get his fast spare and he's still back out there, but looks like he'll probably end up in last position here tonight.
You could barely see in that one shot down the straight, James Donahue and Tony Lucarelli back in the camera shot that was focused on Josh Edmondson. Right now, 6 seconds between Edmondson and Donahue. Lucarelli in that third position. Tristan Maher currently holding down fourth place. He's got about 10 truck lengths up to Lucarelli and about 5 truck lengths back to fifth place running Vincent Valvano. Bill Edwards, who was running dead last for the first 2 laps of this event, he's currently now in the 6th position. Mike Tellier, not too far behind, about 1.2 seconds off the back bumper of the 50 machine. That's the battle for 6th. Cagerman trying to come back from his spin, right back in the 8th spot. And then, of course, John Cannizzaro still in the lead lap, as you pointed out, taking his faster pair, but way back behind even this closest competitor, which would be Cagerman. He's running 15 seconds behind. He's actually back on pit road.
Yeah, it's been a lot of time to make back up, and I'm not entirely sure if he just kind of gave up there or someone else went wrong with the truck. But unfortunately for him, it looks like he's going to be out. But an interesting thing to keep an eye on as well, like you mentioned from the start before we even got into this feature, is that fuel issue. And we saw these guys up towards the front especially really, putting it all out there for the first few laps and racing really, really aggressively and probably burning a lot more fuel. Maybe some of these guys are back here just kind of chilling by themselves and turning laps. So I'm not entirely sure, obviously, what the numbers are for these guys from here on out, but might be interesting to see if some of these guys have to either back off their pace to avoid running out, or if they do run all the way out.
I think maybe safe to say, we'll have to see what happens next week at Belle Isle. Obviously some very tight corners there, but here tonight at Crandon may be the slowest we will see a truck go around a corner all season long. These guys over in turn 9, they are backing it down to about 15 miles per hour. I mean, you don't even go that slow in a school zone.
Yeah, that is really slow, and of course, like I mentioned earlier, you got 700 horsepower and only rear-wheel drive, and you kind of try to throttle up as soon as you can up out of that corner to carry the momentum down that straightaway. It'll really, really, be difficult, just to put that power down, and that's exactly what makes this so challenging. And we've seen guys, Tristan Mayer, not to single him out whatsoever, but definitely has kind of been, caught by that a few times, just trying to get in the gas and racing really harder with guys around him, and it's super easy to, just barely get in the gas a little bit too much and carry the back end around too much.
We are now nearing halfway through the A main here at Crandon, the TNR DRP Stadium Super Truck Series, as Josh Edmondson continues to show the way. Can he make it on fuel? Can everybody else in the field make it on fuel? We'll be finding out here in the closing stages. We're going to step aside for a quick commercial break. You're not going to miss a bit of the action. We're going FRN side by side.
Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCar. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and T. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you can only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine. Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. and today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and T. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine. Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and T. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you can only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine.
Well, you've been watching it all happen here as we hit 5 laps to go. Edmondson gives up the lead to come to pit lane. James Donahue trying to save the fuel to get there, but as you can see, the gap is closing up. It went from 7 seconds down to 4. It's now 2 seconds, and with so much time left in this race, it was a valiant effort, but I don't think Donahue is going to be able to keep Edmondson behind him for long.
Yeah, and definitely has to back the pace off, like you mentioned, to keep that fuel under him, and obviously as we get closer and closer to the end of the race, you'll have more of an idea of where he is. So there is a slight chance he maybe was saving early in the run to kind of set himself up for this, and now he may be able to go a little bit more aggressive and try to retain a little bit of what he can. But with 4 laps to go here coming up this time around, Josh is absolutely going as hard as he possibly can with a full tank of fuel and is able to really reel him back in. So this will be an exciting little bit here as to see if James can make it and if Josh can get around him pretty easily.
Edmondson was on pit lane, Cagerman on pit road, Tellier was on pit lane, as was Tony Lucarelli. So we know that those 4 drivers for sure can make it to the checkered flag. The 4 that have not pitted, including Donahue, also would be Tristan Mayer, Vincent Valvano, and Bill Edwards. Those guys are currently running 3rd through 5th. At this point in time. We'll see if they've got enough to make it back to the checkered flag. 4 laps to go here for James Donahue, and amazingly enough, I would have thought, just based off of the lap times we were seeing, about nearly 2 seconds advantage to Edmondson, we would have seen him around Donahue by this point, but no, he's still about 1.5 seconds behind the 81, so Donahue either may have found something or Edmondson might just be toying with him for the moment, and there you go, drives it really deep into turn 9.
Yeah, definitely not leaving anything out there as Josh Edmondson, but Donahue picked up a pace a little bit that last lap. Like you said earlier, he was about 2 seconds off of Josh's lap times, and he was about 1.5 seconds off that time. So, at this point in time, now that he's kind of in front of Josh Edmondson, he can at least just try to hold him up the best he can just by, kind of controlling the line and hoping he can, not really give him an opportunity to get around it. But at the same time, on the other end of the deal, Josh Edmondson now obviously with that fuel in the tank, he can try to just push James Donahue to make sure, even if he can't get around him for some reason here at the closing stages, at least try to push him, make himself run out of fuel and try and stay in front of him. So this will be an interesting last 3 laps here. It's going to run the start-finish line.
Yeah, we were told these guys could be short on fuel, but we weren't told how short. We were just told it was close. And so the question of if Donahue has saved enough to be able to make it, we're going to be finding that out in these final 3 laps. Tristan Maher has jumped onto pit road in the 98, giving up the 3rd position for the time being. Battle is on for the race lead, and I'm almost thinking you're talking about Edmondson pushing Donahue. I think not only kind of pushing him to use up more fuel, maybe pushing him to make a mistake, because the 58 doesn't look like he's in that much of a hurry at this point in time to be able to make the move, and he's still got a little more than 2 laps to be able to work with.
Yeah, little minor contact there into the hairpin. I don't think that was intentional there on Josh Edmondson, but that kind of actually messed him up, and he made a mistake there, which we have not really seen for the entire event so far, and that's pretty interesting to see. Josh Edmondson trying to obviously just kind of pick off where he can get around James and what part of the racetrack can find the easiest to make that move. But James Donahue absolutely put in on an awesome performance here of trying to defend him off of the race lead. And it's only a matter of how much fuel he has left in the tank. Obviously, unfortunately, we don't have really any clue like you mentioned before, but James Donahue definitely trying to give it all here and see if he can hold off Superman pretty much.
Of course, Josh Edmondson has to be a little bit careful as well, racing around the 81, because Edmondson trying to close out a championship here. Donahue's only made 2 starts this season, and he's not in the hunt for any championship, so he's out there what we would call trophy hunting. You can bet he's going to make things difficult for the 58 to get around him.
Yeah, for sure, and this hairpin has been the wildest corner, like we saw last time, where they both kind of have very different lines. It seems like Donahue likes to hug that inside berm and kind of just drive it off smooth, and Edmondson just drives it in really deep and sends it. Now you can see go to the outside. He learned his lesson last time, and now Donahue trying to cover that top side off and block it, but now they're going to be side by side here, racing on the straightaway.
See him try to point the nose, get back to the throttle, but that time it didn't work. Edmondson got the run around the top. Donahue going to try and challenge back, but Donahue still might be trying to make sure that the fuel stays in the tank to be able to make these final 1.5 circuits. And man, you saw that truck just bounce when it landed. The front tires completely coming off the ground.
Yeah, and absolutely just trying to keep it underneath him right now, at least at the very moment, and hoping he can try to, have Edmondson make a mistake like he did a couple laps ago in that hairpin. But now he's definitely having to race hard. To the point earlier of just, racing for the race lead, you're obviously going to push a lot harder, and it's going to be interesting to see if he has enough fuel in the tank. At this point in time, I'd probably just say back it off a little bit, be a little more conservative, since it would take a little bit of a mistake from Edmondson to get back to him for that race lead, but he's got a 20-second gap back here to 3rd position. So at this point, just try to make sure you can at least have enough fuel in the tank to complete this race in 2nd and not give it too much.
Valvano crawling to pit road. He was in 3rd place. So now the big question is Donahue in 2nd, Bill Edwards in 3rd. Those drivers have not pit the entirety of this A main event. Can they make it back to the start-finish line? Looks like Tristan Mayer back down pit lane in the 98. This would obviously be unscheduled for him, as Josh Edmondson looking for his 4th victory in 5 races. He led 14 of the 15 laps when we were in the season opener at Bark River, another dirt-covered rally-type course, and trying to go 2 for 2 at those types of racetracks, build up that momentum into that bit of a nail-biter track of Belle Isle next week.
For sure, and definitely had to work for it. Oh, it looks like James Donahue's buttering here, coming to the hairpin right before the front straightaway. Not entirely sure if he's going to make it all back around on the start-finish line.
He is definitely slowing going into that left-hander. Let's see if he can make it back. Bill Edwards right now in 3rd. Does he have enough to make it back? Donahue's out of fuel.
He's out.
He is out of fuel, is the 81. Trying to shake that thing back and forth to get fuel back into the intake. Edmondson crosses the line to win. Let's follow this battle back to the start-finish line for 2nd place. Bill Edwards closing the gap up between himself and Donahue. He also might be on pins and needles as far as his fuel. I think Donahue's getting a little bit of help back to the start-finish line from Cannizzaro, and he will get there to finish 2nd. Edwards going to cross just behind in 3rd. So he was really the only one that was able to officially stretch it on fuel. Donahue needed a little bit of assistance, and this battle for 4th place, this is coming back to the checkered flag between Valvano and Lucarelli.
Yeah, looks like Valvano is going to barely hold off Lucarelli right there and a little low. Lucarelli's actually going to spin right here, coming across the start-finish line, and now Cagerman going to try to get back to the start-finish line before he does. And Lucarelli had the toe there. You're on the gas.
He did have to tow. I don't know if he ran out of fuel. I think he was good to make it on fuel, but may have just worked it right there with that spin out. Cagerman's going to move by him for 5th. Mike Tellier is going to move by for the 6th position. My goodness, crazy happenings here in the final mile and 3/4 here at Crandon, but Josh Edmondson, 4th victory on the season, a guy who we weren't even certain was going to be taking the green flag here tonight, and didn't even need that practice, as soon as he got those tires onto the dirt racing surface, it was lights out for the rest of the field.
Yeah, that was really, really impressive, and obviously probably a little disheartening to most of the rest of the guys that he just had a race around, turn like practice laps for about an hour, and then somebody jumps in and it kind of just steals the win away from everybody. But definitely had to work for it there for sure. James Donahue, obviously, unfortunately, was kind of showing a little bit of a fake hand, if you will, because he knew he wasn't going to probably make it there through the last few corners. But Josh Edmondson had to absolutely drive back to him and kind of close in that 10-second gap after pitting there, and definitely helpful that Cannizzaro was able to push him across the start-finish line there, or else he may not have made it back and potentially could have lost all his positions back to about 7th. So definitely a huge help there from John, and I'm sure he's definitely counting his lucky stars for that one.
Yeah, probably easy to say that was the hardest Josh Edmondson had to work for a victory so far this season, with the strategy call by James Donahue, but he's able to pull out his 4th win on the season. Donahue will finish 2nd, Edwards in 3rd, so another good points day for Edwards up there inside the top 5 in points. Vincent Valvano going to finish in 4th place, and Stephen Cagerman in 5th. That's a couple of guys there, Valvano and Cagerman, we saw kind of learn in their heat races and in the B main the ability to be able to pick up spots and capitalize when other drivers made mistakes. Last car to finish on the lead lap was Mike Tellier. Lucarelli finishing 1 lap down as he parked it just a couple, maybe less than 100 feet away from the start-finish line. Tristan Maher with the late pit stop in the closing stages, 1 lap down in 8th, and John Cannizzaro, who we saw have that contact between himself and Donahue, hit the wall at 2 unscheduled pit stops. He finishes a lap down in the 9th position, and that's the way they finish here tonight in the main event at Crandon on the horizon of Belle Isle. Let's see if some of our podium finishers are available for interviews, and indeed they are. Let's kick things off with 3rd place finisher here tonight, Bill Edwards. Hey Bill, it's Lucas and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, I mean, we're doing great. We got treated to a bit of a thriller here in the closing stages at Crandon. Drivers gasping for fuel, drivers trying to battle for positions back to the start-finish line. I think we can safely say that you officially were the only driver to make it back to the start-finish line under power and not even have to make a trip to pit road. We were kind of battering our heads here, trying to figure out, at a track like this, where can you save fuel? Can you answer that question for us?
A lot of half throttling it, I guess. So early in the race, I took a pretty hard hit in the left front of the truck. I had some engine damage, and I went around maybe 1 lap, and with the engine still screaming, I wasn't catching anybody. So I decided at that point my only shot was to try to do some sort of fuel strategy. So I just half throttled almost the whole race. I fell way back, but everybody else had to pit, and I made it around.
You definitely did. I mean, obviously coming into this race, top 3 in the point standings, another solid outing here this evening, going to keep you up there. Now, we ended up seeing you finish runner-up back at Bark River, another dirt-covered rally-type road course. I mean, was there anything from that track that you were able to then take and apply here today, or are the 2 road courses just entirely different and you basically have to approach each one in a separate way?
I think there's some of the aspects, I guess, stay the same, but for the most part, they're 2 totally different tracks. I actually had a little bit better handle on Bark River than I do at Crandon here. Crandon's not, don't have a ton of experience on it, so But yeah, no, I kind of did a little bit of practice and made it work.
Well, great job by you here tonight. Again, as mentioned, the only one to make it on fuel in the 15-lap event. We knew it was close. We didn't know how close, so we got a pretty good idea in the closing stages of this one. Congratulations on another great performance this season, Bill. We're now going to give you the opportunity to do some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Yep, got to give a shout out here to TNR putting this on for us. You guys up in the booth, FRN there. Gotta give a shout out to S2R, my whole race team. Got to say hi to my mom and say hi to my fans. Thanks for watching.
It's Bill Edwards. He's your third place finisher here tonight at Crandon. Once again, congratulations and best of luck next week at another tough road course in Belle Isle.
Yeah, I think that one would be a little bit easier for me. I like the pavement.
We'll see what happens then, as we'll now see if we can get our second place finisher here tonight, James Donahue. James, Lucas, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
10-4, I got you.
Man, I mean, we see fuel strategy races at a lot of different places. Seldom do we see it at a rally type course with the Stadium Super Trucks. But man, you almost made it back there on fuel. We saw you get that little bit of an assistance to the start finish line from Canzanaro. But I mean, the big question is, I mean, what more could you have done to keep the 58 in your rearview mirror? Because there were about 2 or 3 laps that we thought more than likely he was going to pass you, and you were able to keep him behind you.
Yeah, what I was trying to do in those last closing laps, I was just taking awkward lines through there, so I'd have to check up, probably drop back a little bit, and I could gain a few seconds every turn. Like, I think on 3 to go on the hairpin, it worked the best. I kind of got him back, knocked him back a little bit, but yeah, it was just, I didn't have much of a chance. That's all I had.
We knew you had a fast truck, really fast in your heat race, really fast in the B main, so we knew that you were going to be a force to be reckoned with up inside the top 3 regardless in the A main. But, you know, we were talking just moments ago with Bill Edwards, another driver that was playing the fuel strategy game to try and make it back to the checkered flag without a trip to pit road. We knew it was close. How early did you have to start thinking about saving fuel? Like, at what point of the race was fuel the main concern? And at what point did you decide to actually try to stretch it? Was it basically from the start of the race, or was it around the halfway point when you saw the 58 dive for pit lane?
Yeah, at about lap 5, I just kind of, that was when Josh started kind of pulling away. I was like, all right, I have to save fuel. The way he's burning fuel, he has to pit. So, yeah, I just, and about like 5 to go, I saw I did not have enough fuel, so I just started like really lifting in the corners, doing my best to just save as much as I could, and you see it didn't work out as much as well as I thought.
Still, though, really exciting finish here tonight. Left us with a lot of question marks until that checkered flagged wave. Congratulations, though, on a second place performance here tonight. Now we're going to give the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shout-outs.
I'd say thank you to my family for just letting me sit in my living room and yell a lot. Thank you to MDI TV, all the guys who work here at TNR, all great guys here, and that's it. Yeah, that's it. Great race.
That's James Donahue. He's your runner-up finisher here tonight at the Crandon International Raceway. Once again, congratulations on a great run there, and best of luck next week at Belle Isle.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, let's go down to victory lane. 4th time this season in 5 races. It's Josh Edmondson in Victory Circle. Josh, Lucas, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yep.
And I mean, we kind of look over the previous wins that you've got this season. I think it's kind of safe to say this is the one you had to work for the most. You had the 81 out there on a different sequence trying to stretch it on fuel. You had to kind of be careful how you made your way around it, but we kind of knew that you liked down there in that hairpin corner running wide. Figured that was going to be the place to pounce, and it was. But I mean, how much did you have to kind of vary up your strategy, and how much did you have to push your truck to be able to reel him back in after coming to pit road?
Well, I honestly didn't think he was going to be able to stay out. I didn't think anybody would be able to make it on fuel. So I just put the hammer down early in the race and tried to build up as big a gap as I could, just in case guys were trying to save fuel. And then when I got back out and was able to reel him in, I thought for sure he was going to pit. I don't know. he's a wizard with saving fuel in those trucks. I can't do that. That's for sure. I took 3 gallons and still almost ran out again. So yeah, I don't know how he did it, but he was running a really fast pace with saving fuel. So yeah, I don't. That's something I'm surprised for sure.
We know that the way that these races work, we have the inverted field from the heats to the B main and then inverted again from B main to A main. But it seemed like here tonight that was a bit of a moot point with all you guys lining up side by side for the 9 trucks at the initial standing start. With that being said, though, we were talking about that there's not a whole lot of visibility available inside of these Stadium Super trucks. So how difficult was it to get yourselves all organized heading into turn 1? Because we saw them 3 wide, almost 4 wide at one point.
Oh yeah. There's usually a lot of chaos going into turn 1 with a bunch of trucks. Everybody diving in there. It's cool. I love those land rush starts. And yeah, it didn't really matter. The invert kind of puts the guys on the outside, which isn't even bad because if you start on the outside, you can get to the dirt a little sooner than the grass, and it's actually you're capable to pull haul shots out there if you really nail your start. So yeah, not much of a disadvantage at all.
Now, we've obviously seen so far this season, not only have you been able to win, but you've been able to win at different types of tracks. Another dirt road course at Bark River in the season opener, the paved short track of Bristol Motor Speedway a few weeks ago, and then last week, the most recent win at the paved road course of the Charlotte Roval. Next week, we're heading to a place that, unlike here today with the wide sweeping corners, it's pretty narrow corners, not a lot of room for error at Belle Isle. So, I mean, what's the confidence level going into that one as coming into that race, a 4-time winner so far this season?
Yeah, definitely pretty good. Those aren't my forte. I do a lot of driving in these trucks on the dirt like this track here in Bark River and stuff. So that's definitely my bigger confidence here. I was really happy to get those wins at the oval and the road course there. I didn't have as much confidence going in about those. So I hope I can do it again. I'm definitely going to try. I do like the street circuits. I think I've raced that Belle Isle street circuit one other time. So should have a decent pace there.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing what you can do there. Obviously, congratulations on the victory here tonight. 4 for 5 to start out the season with only a handful of races left. Definitely looking like you might be maybe even wrapping up this championship in a couple of weeks' time before we even get to the season finale at Homestead, Miami. So we're now going to turn the mic over to you for some Victory Lane. Thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Yeah, thanks. Shout out you guys putting on the broadcast. It's always cool to go back and watch these over again, and you guys do a great job. So thanks for that. And then, yeah, shout out to everybody on the team. Jim Beaver Esports, Fistful of Bourbon, Winners Get Whiskey, and Rigid, Dirtfish, General Tire, Next Level Racing, Polaris Razor, and Matt Kalish for the new paint I got. It's looking good. So, yeah.
That's Josh Edmondson. He's your victor here tonight at the Crandon International Raceway. Congratulations once again on a great performance there, Josh. Best of luck next week at Belle Isle.
Thank you.
That's going to conclude our coverage here this evening. And you said it, Lucas. You know, not a whole lot of practice available for Edmondson coming into tonight. He missed his heat race. He ran the last couple of laps of the B main, but that didn't stop him at all once the green flag dropped for the A main.
Yeah, for sure. As soon as he got into the session there in the heat race, it looked like he was already turning lap times that were faster than most of the rest of the field, and obviously just was able to carry that all the way through the consolation to win that. And then, like I mentioned there earlier, just a lot of pressure from James Donahue, kind of trying to just put a different strategy out, and definitely can't exactly say as I anticipated seeing a Pro 2 Crandon fuel mileage race, but it was just as entertaining as I ever could imagine it being. So awesome win there by Josh, though, for sure.
You say entertaining, I think that's going to kind of epitomize what we'll see next week at Belle Isle, especially when you've got a guy that has gone to victory lane 4 times this season in Edmondson saying, track like that's not really my forte. You got to wonder what everybody else's thoughts are going into that road course as well.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely have to be rejoicing, I guess, a little bit for that. Definitely going to try to maybe be a little bit more aggressive now that they've all kind of, seen what he can do exactly every single week. And obviously carrying a win from the Charlotte Roval. It's probably the most street-like road course there is on the circuit, so I'm sure you can try to carry something over from that as well. But should be really excited and should be really tight, close corners on that street circuit, so it should be really fun to watch.
Absolutely going to be interesting to see, as Belle Isle going to be the third to last race on the season before we head to the Iowa Road Course and the season finale at Homestead Miami Speedway. Not far for these guys to travel. They're just going to have to go across Lake Michigan from Crandon, Wisconsin to the Detroit Belle Isle area and to get themselves set up for next week's event. We are going to be bringing you coverage of that, of course, after the TNR Master Millwright Big Block Series at Kokomo next Tuesday night. The Big Block Series will be going green at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Stadium Super Trucks, they will go green at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we're going to have another TNR doubleheader next Tuesday night. Tomorrow night, we're going to be continuing on the Dark Horse Racing Series as their season continues to wind down, a couple of weeks removed from the season finale in the Indianapolis 500, where champion is going to be crowned, and things getting really tight for that points lead. So I hope you guys will join us for that green flag scheduled to fly at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or correction, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for that one. But a good race here tonight, fuel strategy race at Crandon International. Lucas, appreciate you joining me in the booth, not only for this one, but for the TNR Master Millwright Big Block Series earlier on here tonight as well. Been a great doubleheader.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a lot of fun and two different disciplines of racing, but both for awesome races and always a pleasure.
To everyone that tuned in tonight, hope you guys enjoyed our coverage of the TNR DRP Stadium Super Truck Series. Josh Edmondson, your winner here tonight at the Crandon International Raceway. For Lucas Cram, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday evening, folks, as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.